Defining Instructional Technology by Blake Hudgens. Let's take a look at our field's history of definitions before we try and define its current status. I utilized Robert Reiser's article titled, "What Field Did You Say You Were In?" to help me show you IT's past definitions. In the early 1900s to the 1950s, IT was viewed as the physical means by which instruction was presented to learners. During this time frame, we saw educational films, pictures, and lantern slides utilized as visual instruction. And with the emergence of sound recordings, radio broadcasting, and motion pictures with sound, we saw the development of a new concept of audio-visual instruction, which is obviously the combination of audio and visual instruction media. Technology advancements such as the television in the 1950s continued to provide individuals in the educational field with a focus of instructional technology as instructional media. However, beginning in the 1960s and 70s, we began to see leaders in our field begin to focus on IT as a process rather than instructional media. The learning process as viewed by the members of the field at that time began to view people, materials, devices, and ideas as equal parts of the process of improving learning. From the late 1970s to the early 1990s, developments in IT shifted the definition from a process to a theory and practice. More specifically, where behavioral learning theories were formerly the basis for designing IT, cognitive and constructivist learning theories began to emerge and influence design. Our field was also seeing further technology advancements such as the internet and interactive videos, which also changed instructional strategies. The definition continued to evolve as learning theories and technology influenced it, and in 2006, the AECT's definition read, quote, "The study and ethical practice of facilitating learning and improving performance by creating, using, and managing appropriate technological processes and resources," unquote. Here are some current trends of instructional technology. IT has become learner-centered, where leaders in instructional technology and design have taken a more constructivist approach when developing learning technology. Learning outcomes are identified before designing instruction, or in other words, what the learner needs to know should be identified before designing instruction. Facilitating the learner is also important. We must facilitate the learner with the learning environment, resources, and tools needed to achieve the learning objectives. Creating and designing the delivery method is no longer based simply around a concept of instructional media. Learning strategies and theories are now implemented into the design process. IT has also become a community-centered concept that can sometimes be driven by economy-related factors. When designing educational technology, accessibility, affordability, accountability, and quality are considered. Institutions must ensure that their delivery methods are accessible and affordable to the learner and that they are of good quality. The learning outcomes and objectives will only be met with quality instruction, and institutions are now being held accountable for that. Learners deserve quality instruction with appropriate feedback upon evaluation, and we have seen a trend with institutions developing their distance education programs with the resources and tools to provide the learners with these concepts. Here are some examples of the implementation of certain aspects of instructional technology. The Unquiet Library is a wonderful and neat concept that is exactly what it sounds like. Located in Canton, Georgia, the Unquiet Library is a media center where learners can go to utilize modern resources to explore and learn. The objective of this media center is to advance beyond the traditional library. Instead of only being a place to quietly read books and articles, the Unquiet Library is a place where the learner can work openly and collaborate with peers and more knowledgeable others alike. The focus is on the needs of the community, and the resources are intended to provide everyone with the tools they need to achieve their learning goals. Our next example is the Flexible Learning Framework, which was a program that the Australian government developed in recent years to overcome the shortfalls associated with universities not graduating students ready for the workforce. To be more specific, the e-learning programs that were developed in the 1990s by the UK and Australia were good foundations for students, but the standards of those earlier programs are not sufficient for preparing students for entering the workforce. The Flexible Learning Framework's objective is to standardize Australia's e-learning programs and provide funds to business and education for developing distance education that adequately prepares students for the workforce. Our next example focuses on distance education. Innovative devices and connectivity enables instructors and learners alike to deliver and receive information through so many different tools and methods. Virtual classrooms via media such as Blackboard Collaborative continue to be the primary delivery for distance education, but we are beginning to see innovative applications available on smart devices that allow professors to reach out to their students at virtually any time. Teaching with Technology Video Library is just one example of an application being utilized to improve learning. This app is from Arizona State University's Technology-Based Learning and Resources Department. The app provides a look into how teachers utilize technology for instruction by providing videos of actual in-class instruction as well as interviews with the teachers. Along with each video is a description of the lesson plan, assignments, student work, and lesson transcripts. The educational levels range from middle grades education through college. The app is a fantastic way of providing a database where other educators can take a look at how other teachers are implementing technology into their classrooms. Here is my personal definition of instructional technology. Instructional technology is the practice of facilitating and improving learning through an ethical and progressively managed process where technological tools and learning theories and processes are creatively designed and combined to deliver information based on learner needs and accessibility. This is my original model of instructional technology based on my personal definition. Instructional technology is a practice with the objective of improving the process of learning. If you take a look at the center of my model, you will see the word practice. It is surrounded by 5 elements that I think are critical for instructional technology. Learning objectives must first be identified before any design or implementation of IT can be conducted. We must also identify the learning theories that best fit the learning objectives and apply them to the process of designing the instruction. Most importantly, we have the learner's needs. We cannot design instruction if we do not facilitate the learner with the resources, tools, and learning environment that they need. At this point, we identify the appropriate technology tools for delivering and receiving information, and we ensure the delivery methods are accessible to the learner. In my model, you will also notice the word manage, pointing to the word practice. This is because I feel that it is very critical that the practice of instructional technology be managed. In this sense, managing the practice is referring to the design and creation of IT, to implementing IT in a learning environment, and evaluating the outcomes of that implementation. Evaluation is critical in managing the practice of IT because we must continue to improve the design process. If the learning outcomes are not being met, the quality of the product we have designed cannot be considered good, and we must go back to the drawing board. So where is instructional technology headed? I think our past definitions, current definition, and current trends can help us picture where we think it might be 10, 20 years from now. But I took a quote from Rob Abel's article titled Innovation, Adoption, and Learning Impact, Creating the Future of IT to help me decide where I think it's going. Quote, leadership in IT will require investigating how the appropriately defined learning outcomes can be enabled by applied innovation. It will require being accountable and taking the lead in establishing and ascertaining the learning impact of an institution's strategic investments in technology. But most of all, leadership in IT will require understanding the alignment of external factors, access, affordability, perceived quality, to the core mission and integrity of the institution. End quote. I completely agree with this statement, and I think IT is certainly headed down the path where the quality and outcome of an education must be considered when applying innovation and economy-based factors will certainly play a part for institutions and learners alike when considering higher education. Here are the resources that I used when developing my personal definition of instructional technology. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.